Right, to Concord, New Hampshire. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Diane. Juan, I came into this show with no sympathy for you, and nothing I have heard in your conversation with Diane has changed my opinion. First, I decided to write you off personally as somebody that I should pay attention to when you posted an op-ed on the Fox News website about the Shirley Sherrod case, and you never even mentioned the Breitbart video. You took the White House to task, you took the Agriculture Department to task, and you never even mentioned that Breitbart video. And I deplore the fact that you blurred the line between commentator and analyst. You put NPR in a terrible position. And more so, I deplore the fact that you haven't stood up to all of the people who are threatening NPR now, threatening shows like Diane's, and you haven't said, stop this.
All right, thanks for your call. Juan.
I don't know who's threatening Diane's show, but I'm not only a fan of Diane's show, but I've appeared regularly on Diane's show, and I was, honored that Diane asked me on this morning. So
what about Shirley Sherrod?
I don't remember what he's talking about. I wonder if he's confused. But anyway,
Jim, what precisely are you referring to?
Was I was writing an op-ed piece myself, and I researched whether there was any apology on the Fox News site once it was determined that the video was doctored. And Juan, you wrote a piece that was on the Fox News website. And again, you criticized the White House, you criticized the Agriculture Department, but you never mentioned Andrew Breitbart, the video. And you're talking about truth in journalism. How can you avoid or delete that truth?
Well, I don't. First of all, as I say, I'm sorry if I'm not remembering something, but to me, as I recall, in the midst of this, the Breitbart video was the problem. I mean, and the fact that it was selectively edited to make Shirley Sherrod seem as if she was saying something and not another. So I don't know exactly what's going on with this. I don't remember this piece anyway. So
did you write?
I don't think so.
Piece? You did not write.
Well, I mean, I'm
you don't
clearly,
remember.
but I don't. I certainly don't remember at this moment. I know I don't.
All right. Thanks for calling, Jim. Let's go to Lillington, North Carolina. Good morning, Daryl.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good.
My only comment is that I'm sure Juan is seeing that this is how the left-leaning liberal, total far left, acts toward people when they don't agree with you. They'll attack you. They'll throw you under the ship. They'll drown you. They'll try their best to make you look like the biggest idiot in the world, and that's how the left operates.
Hey, Daryl.
I'm a conservative, and I'm proud of it.
Okay. Hey, Daryl, do you think that the right-leaning part of this country...
Well, yeah, and the furthest part of the right will do it too. Like Russia do it, but the furthest part of the left will do it too.
That's what I wanted to hear. What do you think, Juan?
Well, I grew up thinking that, remember, I'm a, child of the 60s and 70s, and I grew up thinking, it's the right wing that's intolerant, that doesn't tolerate different points of view. But I'm increasingly of the mind that, if you somehow are viewed as having violated some liberal orthodoxy in this country, that there are people who will make you out to be a bad person.
But
let me finish. I think it's not only make you out to be a bad person. In my situation, they are attacking my character, my mental stability, and my journalistic credentials.
But I asked you earlier whether you were applying that to all of NPR, and you said you were applying it to management.
Correct.
So now you're saying all of NPR.
No, I'm saying that when you look at the way that NPR, the programs are produced, what is talked about, what is selected to be talked about on the big programs and the like, there is clearly an orientation. And I think that it doesn't welcome people who have different points of view, that you really have to fit in one specific box.
I'm going to toot my own horn. This happens to be one of NPR's big programs, and I can promise you that every single day we have left, right, center represented.
I think that you are produced out of WAMU, and you're in charge of this show.
That's right.
And I think that this is a difference than talking about shows produced out of National Public Radio.
All right, we'll go to Millsboro, Delaware. Good morning, Don.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
First, just a comment. I've always respected what Juan has had to say as a commentator on NPR, as an analyst. He has brought a real level, even-keeled opinion to every show that I've heard, interviews and the like. My disappointment came in what seemed to be a very knee-jerk reaction from the management. I consider myself a very centric-minded in politics. It was very disappointing to hear that the reaction seemed to be something that was from one side or the other. I've always talked to friends about NPR, and you talk about how even-keeled they are in their approach above the fray. I use that comment a lot. This seemed to be very much not that. So that's my comment. My question is, do you see being an analyst or a commentator kind of separating your expertise as a journalist in how you approach a story one way or the other?
See, that was my first question. Analyst or commentator? And Juan, you said you're one person and you will be a commentator for Fox.
I think that the commentator part is based on the idea that, you know what, I've got strong journalistic credentials, strong journalistic background, and that's what allows me to be an analyst, which is to, where people are asking you questions that help them to understand what's going on in the news and what's really behind the scenes, things that the reporters, the beat reporters, can't tell you because they don't have that level of access or they don't have that latitude in the way that they speak. They can't tell you what they think is actually going on here. And when it comes to commentator, the commentator just gives me, again, further ability to express my personal points of view.
And you're listening to the Diane Rehm Show. Juan, I want to ask you your reaction to the way Vivian Schiller and her family are being affected. There has been a report that her children have been threatened about this.
I have nothing to do with this, Diane.
You have not even heard
Correct.
that that's happened.
Correct.
Is there any way that you believe that this situation can be reconciled?
Well, Diane, I didn't do it. I mean, one of the most amazing things to me was when I was being fired, I was told that this is something I had done, and I said, I didn't do any. What are you talking about? This is outrageous. What are you doing? I asked Ellen Weiss, do you have a conscience? I couldn't believe it.
What was her response?
She was, hard. I mean, she was carrying out orders. This was an execution from her point of view, I guess. And, to me, the idea that then they would go after me personally, they think that that's appropriate to attack me and suggest either that I am, in need of a psychiatrist or a publicist, that I don't have thoughts and I don't have the ability to speak on my own. I guess the next thing, and then the suggestion, about my journalistic background. I mean, if I didn't have the journalistic credentials and background that I do, I guess they could make this case. It is, to me, again, evidence of their desperation and their willingness to do anything to me in order to somehow salvage what has been an outrageous act.
Have we reached a point of political correctness in this country that's no longer tolerable?
Well, I think when you can't see reality, this is what I said to Bill O'Reilly right at the top. If you can't see reality is about who's attacked you, and if you can't deal with it, and if you are paralyzed and say, oh, no one should say how they feel if they're getting on a plane and see people in Muslim garb and think for a second, gee, what's going on here? Then you can't even have a conversation. You can't have a radio show. You can't have an honest discussion in which people tell you what they're thinking. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's American. I don't think that's in keeping with the idea of, again, allowing all sides some ability to speak.
Juan Williams, he is Fox News commentator. Congratulations on your new position.
Well, I have to get over what happened here.
And